Hey everybody, welcome back. So one of the things I was going to do as part of this channel and what I was interested in, and one of the things I look at on YouTube are the DNA ancestry origin type of stuff, type of videos, because I always think it's really neat. Where do people come from? And do they have certain aspects that, you know, you would say, oh, well, you've got freckles, so you must be Scottish, or, that kind of stuff. We make a lot of assumptions about people, and sometimes that hurts, but sometimes it can be fun, depending on how you approach the assumptions. I'm going to try to remember what we used to say as kids, what we were told as far as our heritage and where we come from and everything like that. I will throw one of my baby pictures, or not baby picture. Well, yeah, let's do that. I'll show you a baby picture, I'll show you a childhood picture, and then of course you see me now. You can kind of see my features stay pretty much the same: round face, freckles. I have, it's hard to tell in videos because of lighting and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I sit in the dark a lot, which is why this side of my face is darker. And I don't have the best quality video equipment. I'm not worried about high definition, all that. I really don't want you to see all the wrinkles and scars and all that kind of stuff. You're really not seeing the best current photo of me, but you guys have seen, you may have seen enough of my videos to get an idea, especially when I've been outside and recorded stuff, or like the basement pictures. I know I was in light, good light for some of that, and Purdy is getting comfortable. Why do you always get in my lap when I start a video? So, at any rate, one of the things I was told as a kid is that we believed I was part tiger. And although we joke about it, I was born Year of the Tiger. Tigger, it was always my favorite Winnie the Pooh character. Stuffed animals, I always had a bunch of tiger stuffed animals. Posters, both in high school and college, I had tigers, and plus I love cats. Uh, so we've always said I'm part tiger. But as far as my ethnicity, what we were told when I was growing up, and I'll try to remember, I can't keep it quite all straight because it's been a while since I've done the routine, and I actually know my ethnicity now, at least as far as the data batches go. So growing up, we were told that I was Rush Pole Italian, so Russian, Polish, Italian, and that would be my dad's side. Scot Irish, which is my mom's side. French Huguenot, which is not really an ethnicity, as I found out in my research. It's more of a community or a population. I can't remember the exact definition, but it's uh, a a I don't know how to describe it, but it's not an ethnicity. But mom always said French Huguenot, and then I can't remember if we used to say if I had German or not. I think we did because my father's side, the Vitters, are some of them are from Germany, or what used to be Germany. There was something else. I can't remember what it was. And then we've always, and as I've gotten into genealogy and watched videos and all that kind of stuff, this is old folklore, but they say I have a molecule of Cherokee Indian. So, now, that being said, it's not too far out of the realm of possibility. If there is any Native American history with me, then it's on my mom's side. My mom's side settled in North Carolina, and then from North Carolina to South Carolina and Tennessee, and then up to Indiana, is kind of how they moved. But it would be the North Carolina family that, if there's any true Native American in my family tree, it would be there. And my aunts and uncles seem to think they know who it is, and my second cousins and everything, they seem to think they know who it is, but I haven't seen any proof yet. So I'm not claiming that. And even if I did have any Native American, it's not enough to be able to claim anything or anything like that. I mean, Mom was correct when she was like a molecule. So, all right. So that being said, that's what we were always told growing up. And then got into genealogy, and I did my DNA, and I went through family tree DNA, so FTDNA. I did all the research, and for what I wanted, that was the best option. And so I did that. I also got my father's through FTDNA, and then my cousin on my father's side. He agreed to let me do his because I needed the Y line for my father's maternal grandfather. So I couldn't do dad because that gave me dad's paternal line, but it was my dad's maternal grandfather that I was needing to find some links. And so my cousin on that side agreed to do it, even though he didn't know me. So I'm very grateful that he agreed to do that. And we were able to make some bridges, and those bridges were confirmed through the DNA testing and everything. So that worked. There are things that I've learned through the years about the DNA results, and that is that each company has its own database, and their makeup of the ethnicities, their groupings could be slightly different. There are some terms that are used across all of the groups, whether it's family tree DNA, ancestry, 23andMe, blah, 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 blah. There are some general groups that are the same for everybody. And then there's some where there might be some overlap. One test has you in this group over here. This test has you in this group over here. So one of the things that I did is that I also uploaded my results, my dad's and my cousin's, to my heritage. And so I'm going to show you both results. The other thing I've learned is that as more people test, those groupings will change slightly through the years, and mine has changed slightly. One thing that has changed is on my first test, and I think it was the FTDNA site that I saw it on, but I can't remember for sure, so don't quote me on it. There was a trace, something like less than 2% Native American. It didn't say Native American, it had the four initial acronym, which basically said that meant some kind of Native American history. Now, since then, that has fallen off of my results. And so with trace results, they'll bounce around a bit. They could disappear or they could grow stronger. It just all depends. And sometimes those trace results overlap with other categories that you already have strong matchings in. So I've learned that as well, that there's got to be some flexibility. I've also learned that you can't say 50% from dad, 50% from mom. You're going to get a range in there somewhere. So My mom has not tested, but her brother has. So he was kind enough to give me a breakdown. I don't have a picture of his, but I'll show you the breakdown. And although I can't trust his completely because his DNA is different from my mother's, it at least gives me an idea of where some of the stuff is. For instance, I'll get into that in a minute. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map and see what my makeup is. How much of my history that I was told is correct? Now, when I've done the genealogy, I do have family that were from Russia, from Prussia, from Bulgaria, Belarus, Poland. My aunt was born in France, but I believe her family's from Germany, I think. I'll bring up that map so we can know for sure. And I will be blocking names so that you guys can't, so that privacy is protected a bit. Okay, it takes a while for it to load, so it's still loading, but I've put a filter in that these are for just the births. But as you can see, I have family that were born in Italy, Germany, Russia, Poland, United Kingdom, Ireland, Austria, Romania, I forgot about Romania, Norway, France, Lithuania, Hungary, Netherlands, Switzerland. At any rate, you can see that I've got a lot of European kind of all over the map of European. So as you can see, as far as genealogy research, those are all the different countries that we have documented births and that sort of thing. Now, just because somebody's born there does not mean that that's their ethnicity. Migration happens. Like I said, I had, she is my, let me think, great grandmother was born in France, Paris, France. But that's only because her family moved there. They were Spiegelblatts. And because of their last name, they were getting a lot of hate and that sort of thing. And so they moved to France to get away from the hate. And then it eventually caught up to them there. They moved before World War II, before the Nazi. I wanted to say before the Nazi movement, but it was actually moving before World War II. But the hate of the German name and everything was building, and so then they moved from France to the U.S. To get away from things. And when they moved to the U.S., they changed their last name from Spiegelblatt to Sherman to try to avoid being judged by their name. Okay, so let's see the results. I've been doing a lot of talking. I've thrown a lot of stuff out there. So what does my blood actually say? And luckily, I am definitely my father's daughter and my mother's daughter. So no surprises there for me, luckily. So these are my results. And as you can see, kind of all over Europe. And I've got a bit of North Africa, a bit of Spain, a bit of, what do they call it, West Asia. On here, they're calling it Middle East. Oh, wait, and I'm also scrolled down too far. Let's start over. Okay, so here are the results. As you can see, kind of a little bit all over Europe there. These are the results from FTDNA, and I'm 92% European. No big surprise based on what I was telling you guys. What surprised me was the Scandinavian part of things. I didn't realize we had that much, but FTDNA says that I have 26% Scandinavia, which covers Iceland, Norway, Sweden. For some reason, it doesn't cover Finland, which surprises me. Denmark is also in that grouping. And then 22% Ireland, which that would be the Scot-Irish part of things, from what I understand of my history. And I believe the Scot-Irish were North Ireland, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that. As we go down, I'm also 33% Ashkenazi Jewish, and that is my father's side. He is actually 60 something percent. We'll see that. I got almost exactly half of my Ashkenazi heritage from him. I said that wrong. I got almost exactly half of his Ashkenazi Jewish DNA. There is no Ashkenazi on my mother's side. So the Italian, I have 11% Italian Peninsula. Something I learned also in my research is that the Italy area, especially, it's actually Sicily that my ancestors are from, and that's probably where we get the North Africa part. Well, that's where I was assuming the Italian side was the North African part as well as the Middle East. I think you can see my cursor, this part. This part, and this part all kind of migrated together into Italy. Turkey also, and Turkey plays a role. I will bring that up in a minute. So 11% Italian. My grandmother was half Italian, dad a quarter Italian. So I'm almost exactly half. I'm a little less. So that's kind of neat as well. Then we have the trace amounts, and I have trace Middle East and North Africa. So northern Levant is that area, and that actually matches some of my father's stuff. And if we go to Sephardic Jewish, which is actually on my mother's side, that would be the Spain. And then I also have a bit of, oh, whoops, there's North Africa. It's actually Maghreb and Egypt on this map. On the other one, it's North Africa. And I thought this would be my father's side, but he doesn't have this at all. So it's got to be my mother's side. And then also trace amounts of Mizrahi Jewish, which is this part right here, I believe. Or no, it's the green part, I believe. Let me see what my dots say. Yeah, the green area is the Mizrahi Jewish. So there are three different Jewish DNA traces for me. Two of them are traces, one of them is definite. But I always thought that was kind of weird. Now, before this most recent update, my dad also had the Mizrahi Jewish on his. But as we're going to take a look, his actually updated in the Mizrahi Jewish dropped off in actually Yemen Jewish, Yemishan. I can't remember the word. We'll check it out. But that Jewish ancestry is on his now. So we've kind of got four different Jewish histories, which was kind of neat to see. I've talked about him. Let's actually check him out. So I've talked about him. Let's check it out. This is a comparison between my dad and myself. So my dad is the first column. I've blanked out the name. I'm the second column, the darker column. So my dad is 85% European. He actually has some of the Scandinavian, 4%, not a lot, a little bit though. And he does not have any of Ireland. So that is all moms. He is 69% Ashkenazi on this latest update. His percentage changes just depending, whereas I have the 33%. He has 12% Italian Peninsula, whereas I have 11%, which is weird because I don't have Italian on mom's side. But I'll show you the comparison with my uncle. Then we get into the trace amounts for me. He has 13% Middle East, whereas I have less than 7%. That matches, that makes sense. He is 9% Northern Levant, the West Asia area, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he has none of the Sephardic Jewish. He has less than 5% Anatolia, Armenia, and Mesopotamia, which it's a trace amount. So that changes some. He did not have that on the last one, on the previous update. He has it on this one, of course. He has trace amounts of North Africa, which before, so I keep telling you guys wrong information, and I apologize for that. Before, he did not have the North Africa part, which was surprising to me. This one he does. So that changes. And it kind of matches. He had less than 2%. I have less than 1%. That matches. The Mizrahi Jewish, he's showing none for it, and I'm showing less than 1%. On the previous update, he did have the Mizrahi Jewish, and I didn't have any. So you can see where the trace, it bounces around a bit. And then, as I mentioned before we started looking, on this one, on this update, he has the Yemenite Jewish less than 1%, whereas before he did not. So the Mizrahi and the Yemenite Jewish, there's probably a lot of similarities, and that's why we've bounced around with those and kind of gone from there. So let's check out, how do I match my mother's brother? Again, he's got different DNA from my mother, but let's see. So this is my uncle, and as you can see, he is 100% European. No ifs, ands, or buts. He is European. He has 24% Scandinavian, whereas I have 26%. So I'm getting Scandinavian from both sides of the family. He has 32% Ireland, whereas I only have 22%. Remember, Dad had none. Mom probably has a higher percentage of Ireland than my uncle does. One day I'll get her tested, so we'll see. Then they just have the broad Central Europe as the 36%. He has no Ashkenazi Jewish. He has 6% Italian Peninsula, whereas before they did not have 6%. I'll have to look at my spreadsheet. I can't remember if he had it on that one or not. It was before this latest update. He has 2% Greece and Balkans. I have none there. And that might be because mom didn't get any of that, but 2% is not very high. So that one, it probably bounces around a bit. He has less than 1% Magyar. It's a trace amount. It's probably going to bounce around a bit. He has none of the Northern Levant. He does have less than 1% Sephardic Jewish, and I have less than 4%. So mom probably got a higher percentage of that. And then he has none of the Maghreb in Egypt. He has none of the Mizrahi Jewish. So kind of fun little comparisons there. Okay, so this is my heritage, and this is how they break down our ethnicities. Again, I'll show you some comparisons. It's pretty much the same as FTDNA. They just might use different categories a little bit. So they have that on 36.4% English. I imagine that's European. Well, no, that's not European. That's just English, England. It doesn't have any of Ireland for me. So there's probably overlap there. We know there's a lot of back and forth and mixing and stuff. They have me as 32.4% Ashkenazi. And they actually break that down more into three little groupings. It's this bright yellow one that you see. You can see the three circles that they have as the groupings. Mostly Poland, Germany, Ukraine, Lithuania, Belarus, and Russia. And you saw all those names on my family map, mostly Lithuania, Poland, and Belarus. And then we have mostly Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania. I actually have Latvia as one of the births as well, which is right near Lithuania, the three little countries there. So let's go back. They, oh, I see. It takes the color out when you zoom in. So it does have my Irish, Scottish, and Welsh heritage in there. They have me as 14.6%. They're playing music for us. I don't think you guys could hear that though, could you? Huh. Okay. So let's go back. Finnish, which if you remember on the other one, it had Norway, Sweden, and Iceland. This one has Finland. And I think there's a lot of mixing there as far as if you start looking at the migrations and stuff. But at any rate, 3.8% Finnish. Then they have West Asia. And that was the area I was talking about with the Mizrahi Jewish, which was right in here. This one is more broad and it includes Turkey, Armenia, which you remember I had trace amounts of that area on the other one on the FTDNA. So a bit broader. And they consider that West Asia. And then North African, which is a little smaller than the FTDNA area, but this is 6% North African. And this is Sicily right here. So having ethnicity of North Africa makes sense. And then they started with this last update that they did. They started doing, trying to get everything in frame. Is everything in frame? Kinda. They started doing genetic groups, and they have the Southern USA for me. So when you click on that, it's Southern USA, and what it says is British and some Irish and German settlers in Southern United States. DNA kits used to form this group. There were 75,156 DNA tests. DNA kits linked to family trees, there were 31,363. So their confidence level about having a genetic group of Southern US fits, especially what I told you with my history. My mom's side of the family settled in North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, all in that area. And then that branch moved to Indiana at some point. I don't know a lot about the genetic groups other than my understanding is it's about the migration. Okay. Okay. Trying to keep everything in frame. So this is a comparison between myself and my dad. This time I'm in the first column, dad is in the second column. And this is what my heritage has to say about our ethnicity matches. English, it has none for him, which is kind of funny. Ashkenazi, 69.7%. So those are almost exact numbers. I think FTDNA had 69%. They have me, my heritage has me at 32.4, whereas FTDNA had me at 33. So those are almost exact. They have none of the Irish, Scottish, Welsh for dad, none of the Finnish. They do have Iberian for dad, which FTDNA did not, but they have 5.2% Iberian for him. They have 4.7% Greek and South Italian. If I click on these, it actually shows you on the map. That matches as far as migrations and that sort of thing. But if you remember, they didn't have Greece or South Italy for my dad. They had Greece and the Balkan Islands for my uncle, and they had some Italian for my uncle. A bit weird. I need to get moms. They only have dad at 1.2% Italian, but again, we're going to have overlap. Just have to keep that in mind. Iberian is Spain, Portugal, these islands over here, and actually a little bit of North Africa there. For my dad, my heritage has him with 7.7% Mizrahi Jewish. If you remember, Family Tree DNA had zero Mizrahi Jewish for him, but they had Yamishan. I can't remember the word now. You guys can see how terrible I am with words. Yematan or Yamishan or something like that, Jewish, which was kind of in the same area. So moving on down, they have 6% North Africa for me, but none for dad. Again, kind of weird. All right. They have 7% Middle Eastern. That makes sense. And it actually includes a little bit of Northern Africa, if we see Egypt and Sudan there. And then they have genetic groups for him. He has none of the southern USA, but he has groupings of Poland, Ukraine, Russia, and Romania. He has Italy, specifically Argentino, Argrinta, I can't say it, Argringento. And that is, our family is from Shaka, Sicily, which I believe is right in here, maybe in that little hump. It's a port town. It's not a city. but that's where our Italian side of the family are from. We both have Eastern Europe, Central Europe as our genetic groups. Okay, took me a while to get to my uncles, but this is the comparison with my uncle. Again, mom has different percentages than him, so I can't take this verbatim, but it gives me a good idea of what mom probably has, give or take. So, as I mentioned, he was on FTDNA, he was 100% European. So, they have 2.8% English for him, but I have 36.4% English. Do we remember what it was for dad? I can't remember, but that seems really low, in my opinion. But they have him as 46.5% Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. So that's probably where the difference makes up. And then they also have him 43% Scandinavian, but they have zero for me for Scandinavia. Remember, they have me as Finnish. Again, these kind of bounce around. I just take it for the general area and kind of go from there. He doesn't have any West Asian. He has almost the same amount of North African as I do, which then still backs up the getting it from both sides of the family. And he actually has a trace amount of Nigerian, 0.9%. With our family settling in southern US, that makes me wonder if somewhere in our tree, because I haven't encountered it yet. I'm waiting for that moment. I don't think any of my family were rich enough, but there's probably slavery involved somehow with that 0.9%. It is a trace amount, so that might not necessarily be accurate. I do remember on early testing, I had Central Africa in part of the results. I can't remember which company, but that doesn't show up now. And so that might be the same kind of stuff that's showing up for him. That's some of the interesting things. Now, I've talked about previous examples and that sort of stuff. So let me actually show you some of our previous results because I actually took snapshots of them, which I didn't think I would be using them for this. I just happened to take it because I wanted to share it in emails with family. So this is from 2018 for my father. And I know I'm bouncing around. It's hard to keep track of everything that I've said, and I apologize, but that's kind of me. I'm sorry. So this is Family Tree DNA from 2018. And as you can see, at that time, they had my dad at only 66% Ashkenazi Jewish, which, if you remember, is 69% now. Then they gave him 23% Southeast Europe, which is this area right here. He's 23% Southeast Europe, which is the orange area, which matches what we've been talking about. And then they also have 9% Asia Minor, which is Turkey. And then 3%, they're not calling it a trace result, but from what I've seen and what I've researched, 3% is kind of trace. They're saying North Africa. And then less than 2% Middle East. West Middle East, which it doesn't show me where they're talking about for West Middle East. So that just shows you a bit of difference that they've had through the years, just a little bit. They've gotten more specific with some of the history in the area. Let me pull up one of mine. Okay, figured it out. And I even cut my name off so I don't have to worry about putting a black bar up. So as you can see for me, this is from 2014. The descriptions are not as specific, they're more broad, but this is 2014 Family Tree DNA. And you can see they had me at 54% European, with 31% being the British Isles, 15% being Western and Central Europe, 8% Scandinavian, that's dropped some, They had me at 33% Ashkenazi at that time, so that hasn't changed too much. It has bounced around through the years. 2014 was quite a while ago. And they had me at 14% Asia Minor, which is a lot higher than what they're saying now for me. But as you can see, there's no North Africa, there's none of the Iraq, Iran, Mizrahi Jewish area. It's interesting to see the changes and what stays and what doesn't stay, and that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of interesting as well, seeing things through the years. So this is my 2018 breakdown from Family Tree DNA. It shows what I was talking about. Although the one I remember, one of it was actually up in one of the categories where it actually highlighted Central Africa. But as you can see on this 2018 result, I actually had trace less than 1% South Central Africa, less than 1% South America, less than 1% East Europe, less than 2% Iberia, and less than 2% North Africa. But the things that dropped off that I haven't seen since are the South Central Africa, South America results. So again, it bounces around. And see, on this one, I'm only 28% Ashkenazi, so I dropped from 33% to 28%. I'm back up to 33%. So, yeah, DNA is not a definite, it's not something to base everything on 100%, but it is interesting to see and get an idea of and follow. So if you've done your DNA to check out your ethnicity and everything, if you're doing it for other than just finding family members, check it often because it does change. And sometimes you get an email saying it's updated, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it just updates. So check it out. I would say maybe twice a year at least and see what's showing and what's not showing and that sort of stuff. I think it's interesting. I'm trying to remember what all kind of stuff folks like to see. There was something else I was thinking that I would show you guys because I was watching some of Genia Vlogger, Genea Vlogger, and he likes seeing something when people are talking about the results, but I can't remember what it was. So I may end up doing an update to this, but to end it, I will share a couple of pictures with you. The first one is one of the big things in one of the genealogy groups I was in is people wanted to share their maternal line and paternal line pictures and see the same and change and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to end my DNA results with that. Here is my paternal line. And as you can see, there are some things that I match with my dad, mostly the dark hair. I actually seem to match my dad is at the bottom, my grandfather is in the middle, his father, and then his father's father. So my great grandfather is there at the top, and I think I look more like him than I do my father. But I'm going to show you my maternal line now. And you're going to see I have a lot of similarities with her as well. So I only have three. I have me, my mom, and my grandmother, her mother. And that round face, as you can see, is a big trait with us. But you can see I have a good mix of similarities between both my parents, especially when I lose weight. Um, you can see more of my father's side, but I've always been kind of a even mix between the two of them. That's my family history. That's my ethnicity. Those are my stories. So, thank you for putting up with my rambling and my jumping back and forth. And if you found this interesting, I appreciate it. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about the DNA testing and ethnicity and all that kind of stuff? Thank you for joining me on this one, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.